Hey guys, welcome to Solo ReacTalk. Tonight I'm going to be reacting to Legacy of Kain, Zephon, a character study by Strictly Fantasy. If you want to check out my other reactions to Legacy of Kain videos, remember the playlist card will be at the top. Just click on it and be able to access them. Okay, let's start. 3, 2, 1, go.
Well, instinct, reflex action. The insect mind finds little difference. I warn you, brother. As my stature has grown, so it is matched by my appetite. Step forward, morsel.
As the era following the events of Blood Omen came to an end, the ambitious and self-proclaimed ruler of Nosgoth, Kain, recruited a cadre to assist him in his conquest of the world. When Kain raided the Seraphan crypts and resurrected the ancient Inquisitors in an act of calculated blasphemy, Zephon was reborn among the weakest of Kain's brood. He ranked 5th of the 6 vampire lieutenants that were raised. In Kain's empire, this meant he was senior only to Malchiah. As a vampire, Zephon retained many of the same features he had as a human. As seen in Soul Reaver's opening cinematic, his build is slim, his face narrow, with his short hair spiked up. Although we only get a glimpse of him at the start of the game, it is clear that he wears a similar bare-chested outfit to his brothers, with leather trousers and metallic boots, greaves and pauldrons, and with a cloth bearing his clan symbol hanging from his right shoulder. However, there is one notable distinction between the human Zephon and his vampire self. Curiously, his mural in the chapter house of the Seraphan stronghold depicts him as having red hair instead of black. The change in Zephon's hair colour seems to indicate a peculiar side effect of vampirism in Kain's descendants.
Yeah, now that I think about it, like everybody here has got black hair. Everybody except for Kain himself.
Maybe even owing to the corruption present within Kain himself. This is backed up by series art director Daniel Kabuko, who confirmed Zephon's hair colour was red as a human and then turned as black as his soul when he was remade into a vampire. Zephon assisted in the creation of Kain's empire by raising his own descendants, the Zephonim. While physically less powerful than the high-ranking lieutenants and their forces.
Is this a game related to Legacy of Kain, or it looks different? It looks very like 2005 or 6 or 7 or 10 kind of game. Yeah.
Zephon didn't dwell on his shortcomings, instead choosing to focus on his clan's strengths, which included a proclivity towards their mental abilities. The developers have characterized him as insidious, with a cunning nature. When comparing him to his brethren, Zephon may not necessarily be the smartest or the best fighter, but he is one of the most cunning. He enjoyed the politics which came with his position. Although we know next to nothing of the political games he played, it is said that he had a robust network of spies and manipulated the administration of Kain's empire with expert precision through a spiderweb of lies.
So he was the spy master. You know, he gathered information, he had spies everywhere in every single corner of the realm that, you know, Kain had domain over. And yeah, he committed his own political machinations of court intrigue, and he enjoyed it. Yeah.
All the brethren were jealous of Kain's firstborn son, Raziel, and Zephon was no exception. No doubt the crafty lieutenant welcomed any opportunity to surpass his brother, although for many centuries this.
Yeah, he must have been happy when when Raziel was, you know, betrayed by Kain. He must have been ecstatic.
This proved difficult because Kain had forbidden open war between the clans. So when the time came for Raziel's abrupt execution by order of their lord, it is my theory that Zephon secretly revelled in his brother's death, as this brought about a cataclysmic shift to the power dynamics of Kain's kingdom. What Zephon couldn't foresee was Kain flat out abandoning his empire. In the wake of Raziel's sentencing to the Abyss, Kain disappeared, travelling to the Chronoplast to search for a way to restore the pillars. Kain vacating his seat of power created a power vacuum which sparked infighting and mistrust among the lieutenants and their clans. This devolved into open conflict and ultimately led to a bloody civil war. Knowing the relative strength of his clan better than anyone, Zephon was content to stay out of large conflicts and play all sides against each other. He understood his clan was much weaker when compared to the likes of Thurilium and Dumahim, and thus held back his armies where he could, while compelling his clan to undergo a radical vampiric transformation.
I don't know, he kind of gives me Littlefinger kind of vibes. I mean, if you guys know about Game of Thrones, then you know who I'm talking about when I say Littlefinger. Yeah, he kind of gives me that vibe about him.
Through self-torture, experimental alchemy, and twisted breeding programs. Cunning and trickery have always been the tools of Zephon's spies and agents. Acts of sabotage, stealth, psychological warfare, and targeted killings are his clan's preferred tactics, and they have used these methods to sow confusion and discord whenever forced to appear on an open battlefield. Eventually, Zephon's spies would inform him of a human weapon developed to kill the vampires at a great cathedral which he decides to investigate.
Far in the eastern mountains, a stifled titan stands in mute surrender, unwilling host to a parasitic swarm.
Once a testament to mankind's defiance of Kain's empire, the cathedral's human architects constructed this tower as a holy weapon of destruction. The cathedral pipes were tuned to blast a musical hymn deadly to any approaching vampires. However, before the weapon could fulfill its final task, to rid Nosgoth of every vampire, Zephon and his clan attacked, seizing control. Its inhabitants were slain, the weapon disabled, and this derelict silenced cathedral now served as Zephon's home.
So the humans did have technology to wipe out the vampires. It's just that they never had the opportunity to use it. Oh man, that's so unfortunate. Really, they could have brought an end to this plague of vampirism once and for all. Amazing technology though, amazing.
As Nosgoth slowly became a wasteland, further decline in the wake of the collapse of the pillars, Zephon chose to remain hidden in the silenced cathedral. He was less about proving himself to his kin, and more about letting the others fight it out and kill each other as he built up a massive defense with traps to ensnare his foes. Indeed, this would explain why his clan exclusively inhabited the silenced cathedral and were not seen outside or in other locations in Nosgoth. Zephon's cowardly personality, coupled with the corruption he inherited from Kain's soul, influenced his transformation and devolution into a monstrous and grotesque form. As the years passed and the vampires physically mutated, Zephon and his clan adopted insectoid and arachnidin features. The Zephonim, in particular, had thin, spider-like limbs, which made them well equipped to climb walls and chase their prey over vertical surfaces. In a chilling display of their abilities, they climbed with their backs facing the walls, with their pale, elongated heads and teeth pointing outwards. When Raziel returned from the abyss in pursuit of Zephon, he faced many of his brother's underlings and watched with disgust how these scuttling beasts had cocooned their prey. Many of these victims were used as a source of blood for feeding, while others were converted into newly devolved vampires for the clan. Surprisingly, Raziel encounters several.
They kind of remind me of the aliens from the Alien movies, you know, how they would also capture you, they'd cocoon you onto the wall so that the face huggers can come and, you know, latch on you and then, you know, you'd have their children. Or they would actually cocoon you for food later on. So yeah, it kind of reminds me of that. These things have to be killed. Vampires of all types, of all shapes, they just have to go. They have to go.
Several vampire-worshipping humans in the Silence Cathedral, loyal to the Zephonim. While we are not given an in-game explanation as to why these humans would obey Zephon and his clan, the implication is that the lieutenant commanded his offspring to re-establish the cult of vampire worshippers, in the hope that these devout human followers would lure more of their kind to the cathedral for feeding. During his devolution, Zephon grew to resemble a large mantis-like creature reminiscent of the alien queen from the 1986 Aliens film. He had become so big that he ended up encompassing an entire chamber with...
Yeah, he looks hideous, but he's nothing like Malkaya. That guy... Oh gosh. All those bodies, all those organs, everything just mashed up into one body like that. Ew. So, yeah. Zephon is also, grotesque looking, but he has nothing on his younger brother, Malkaya.
2 long thin forearms extending from his spindly body, and further limbs hanging from a mass of his flesh on the ceiling. According to Zephon, his body had become infused with the building, effectively making him immobile, though all of his limbs are capable of striking from close range. While his upper body took on traits of a praying mantis, his lower body malformed into a large, pulsing egg sac. Perhaps the most horrifying aspect is his face. In particular, how his eyes and the bone connecting them can detach from his head to reveal a mouth filled with spiky, disgusting teeth.
Oh gosh. Yeah, he also reminds me of an enemy in a game called Dragon Age Origins. The broodmothers of the Blight. The Darkspawn. Yes, the Darkspawn Blight. The broodmothers, create more Darkspawn. So he kind of looks like one of them. In fact, with his egg sac and how he's stuck to the wall. Yeah, he reminds me of those creatures in Dragon Age Origins. Yeah.
The prodigal son. There is no returning for you, Raziel.
Zephon, your visage becomes you. It's an appropriate reflection of your soul.
And you are not his handsome Raziel anymore. His precious firstborn son turned betrayer. You have missed so many changes, little Raziel. Look around you. See how the human's weapon of destruction has become my home. Indeed, my body. A cocoon of brick and granite from which to watch a pupating world.
A crevice in which to cower, only scuttling from the shadows to devour a victim already ensnared in your cowardly trap. But you've made the mistake of leaving me unbound, and it is you who must succumb to my will.
It is implied from this belligerent and mocking exchange that bad blood existed between the two brothers, even before Raziel's execution. Raziel views Zephon's actions of hiding in the shadows to prey on vulnerable, unsuspecting victims as typical of the weak and spineless brother he remembers. While his...
Yeah, you can say that, but, it's about survival, in terms of the vampire hierarchy and, how they conduct themselves as the lords of Nosgoth under the leadership of their king, Kain. So, it's just how he is. Everybody else is either stronger than him or more intelligent than him, so he has to find a different way of surviving. And his way might seem, it might seem like it lacks honor, but that doesn't matter as long as he wins, as long as he is able to survive and adapt to the situation, then yeah, he will do whatever he needs to do. So I understand how Zephon actions, how his actions, may seem to be, dishonorable and cowardice and just, very wrong, but that's how he is. He needs to be that way.
His size and stature may have grown. Zephon is the same self-preserving, dishonorable coward Raziel knows all too well. Unlike Malkaya, who showed revulsion for what he ultimately became, Zephon appears to embrace his new form, expressing delight at witnessing the world die around him during this era. This contempt Raziel carries for his brother remains, even when he encounters the Sarafan Zephon in the past, at which point he brands him a bastard and is eager to see die. When Raziel fought his mutated sibling, the gargantuan vampire tried to use his powerful limbs and teeth to devour our protagonist, but his inability to move proved his downfall. At some point before this battle, a human vampire hunter infiltrated the Science Cathedral and made his way up to Zephon's chamber with the intent to slay the monster. Armed with a flamethrower, the hunter stood a decent chance as Zephon's body still retained many of its vampiric weaknesses, including a vulnerability to fire. Unfortunately, Zephon easily dispatched the hunter before he could get close. As Raziel first enters the chamber to confront Zephon, we can assume how the hunter met his demise. The entrance to the chamber had a sphincter-like door, which closes up when Raziel tries to back away. Given the state of the vampire hunter's body, it is clear that Zephon had activated this door to sever the hostile human in half. Although the hunter was dead, the flame still burned. All Raziel needed to do was to somehow make use of the fire present in the chamber, especially as none of his normal attacks with the Soul Reaver seemed to hurt Zephon. If Raziel destroyed one of his limbs, or attacked the egg sac, Zephon's body would curiously expel an egg. These eggs were infertile, and nothing hatched from them, most likely due to Zephon's gender and the sterility of the blood curse which ran through him. While no living thing came out of the eggs, they would explode after a short time, releasing a purple gas. Picking up the eggs, Raziel set alight to them before throwing them at his huge sibling. Eventually, the fire took hold and Zephon burned to death.
Burned to death by his own eggs. Ugh, this is so weird. Ugh.
Consuming Zephon's apostate soul has bestowed on you a new gift. Like his vampire spawn, you are able to scale certain walls which are otherwise impassable, but only in the physical realm. In the spirit world, these insubstantial edifices will not support you.
Looking back to when Raziel consumed Malchiah's soul, I find it interesting how he expressed remorse and doubt following the death of his youngest sibling. And yet, when he murders Zephon, Raziel is silent, expressing no qualms over this particular brother's death, as if to further confirm to us the strained relationship that existed between the two. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed this character study, and I look forward to seeing you all again for the next Legacy of Kain video. See you later.
Okay guys, that was Legacy of Kain Zephon, a character study by Strictly Fantasy. Yes, Zephon, yeah, he, like I said before, he might have, been seen as someone who was weak, who was cowardice, who was spineless and self-serving person, but like I said, his brothers were either stronger than him or far more intelligent than him. He was second weakest brother amongst all the vampires that Kain created. So he had to find other ways to be strong. He had to find other ways to adapt to any kind of situation that might, come towards him or to the vampiric race as a whole. So he concentrated more on intelligence gathering. If you know more about your enemy, if you know more about your potential allies or your potential enemies, then you can be far more better prepared for whatever may come. So he was the spy master. He also dabbled in political intrigue and machinations of court, and all of this was all in the purpose of protecting him and his clan of vampires. And also he improved, should I say improved, or he just altered his vampiric clan and himself into these insectoid creatures that survived on creating more of their kind, and also collecting humans for harvesting their blood instead of just killing them or taking their blood and then leaving them for dead. With Zephon and his clan, they use humans for other purposes, not just for food. So yeah, that's also quite interesting. And yeah, Zephon was the ultimate survivor, I think, out of all of his brothers. I think he was like an ultimate survivor. The relationship between him and Raziel, I think it's also kind of understandable because all the brothers were jealous of Raziel. All the brothers wanted to be Raziel because he was the eldest, he was the strongest, he was the most loved by Kain, and all of them aspired to have what Raziel had. So I think in terms of this brother, because of his way of doing things, Raziel really didn't trust him, really didn't like him. And it shows, he didn't even have any remorse for what he did to his brother, killing him that way. He just walked away like it's just another day in the office. But yeah, guys, this was interesting about Zephon. Okay, that's it. If you liked the video, remember to give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos, and I will see you next week Friday. Okay?